The aliens laughed when our bullets bounced off their ships. They didn't realize every missed shot was part of the plan, because humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our aim. It was our lies. When Captain Elias Vance finally pulled the trigger, he wasn't shooting at the invaders. He was shooting at the sky. And by the time the aliens realized the truth, it was already too late. The real question? What happens when an even bigger enemy arrives, and we've just wiped out our only allies? Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The air smelled like burning metal and desperation. Captain Elias Vance crouched behind the shattered remains of a hover car, his tactical visor flickering as another volley of human gunfire ricocheted uselessly off the alien warship's obsidian hull. The damn thing just hovered there, a perfect black diamond against the smoke-choked sky of New Chicago, drinking in the sunlight like it was laughing at them. Cease fire. God damn it, cease fire. Elias barked into his comms, his voice raw from 3 hours of shouting over explosions. His gloved hands swiped blood from a fresh cut above his eyebrow. The third today. At 34, he was too old for this shit, but here he was anyway. Lieutenant Naomi Cross ejected her rifle's magazine with a sharp click, the empty cartridge clattering against the rubble. At 30, she moved with lethal grace even in chaos, her form-fitting combat suit doing nothing to hide the tension in her shoulders. "They're literally laughing at us, Cap," she said, jerking her chin upward. "You hearing this?" Elias didn't need a look. The alien hologram had been taunting them for hours. A towering, insectoid figure with too many eyes, its voice like nails on a chalkboard. Pathetic, it screeched again. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm us." Behind them, Sergeant Cole Mercer chuckled, the sound rumbling from his barrel chest. At 38, with a cybernetic right arm and biceps thicker than most men's thighs, he looked like he could wrestle one of those ships to the ground. "Oh, they're in for a surprise," he muttered, slapping a fresh magazine into his modified shotgun. Naomi's emerald eyes narrowed. "What surprise? We've been shooting at them for hours with zero effect." Elias wiped soot from his visor, his gaze tracking not the ship, but the glowing bullet holes peppering the surrounding skyscrapers. Every missed shot, every ricochet, all perfectly placed. "That's because we're not shooting at them, Cross." "Then what the hell are we shooting at?" Naomi demanded. The ground trembled as the alien ship's engines pulsed, preparing for another attack run. Elias checked his watch, right on schedule. He grinned, despite the blood in his mouth. Wait for it. A deep, subsonic hum vibrated through the pavement, making their teeth rattle. The alien hologram flickered. Then, all at once, every bullet embedded in the cityscape lit up like Christmas lights. Naomi's breath caught. "You rigged the whole damn city." Cole's booming laugh cut through the chaos. "Nah, just every round we've fired since these bastards showed up." The alien's mocking voice turned shrill. "Deception. Treachery." Elias didn't hesitate. He drew his modified revolver, an antique .45 loaded with special rounds, and took careful aim. Not at the ship, at the crumbling power substation, half a click behind it. The shot rang out like a thunderclap. For one heartbeat, nothing. Then New Chicago went dark, and the alien warship screamed. Chapter 2. The alien warship's smooth black surface flickered like a dying view screen, its once impenetrable hull now crawling with jagged arcs of blue electricity. The EMP pulses from thousands of embedded bullets had turned the city into a giant electromagnetic trap. Naomi's mouth fell open as the massive vessel listed sideways, its gravity drive sputtering. "Holy hell," she breathed, her fingers tightening around her rifle. "You turned our missed shots into a goddamn network." Cole slapped Elias on the back hard enough to stagger him. "Told you the old man still had tricks." His cybernetic arm whirred as he pumped his shotgun one-handed. The alien hologram glitched violently, its multi-eyed face distorting. "Deception," it screeched, the words breaking up into static. "This violates combat protocols." Elias ejected the smoking shell from his revolver, his eyes never leaving the faltering ship. "Welcome to human warfare, you overgrown firefly." He snapped the cylinder shut with a flick of his wrist. "We cheat." With a sound like tearing metal, the warship's anti-grav systems failed. It dropped from the sky like a stone, plowing into Lake Michigan with a geyser of steam and debris that rained down across the ruined waterfront. Naomi was already moving, sprinting toward the crash site with her weapon up. "We need to secure that wreck before." A wet, coughing sound cut her off. From a smoking crater where the ship had impacted, a slender figure was crawling onto the shore. The alien stood on 4 jointed legs, its iridescent exoskeleton cracked and leaking fluorescent blue fluid. 4 spindly arms clawed at the ground as it dragged itself forward, bulbous black eyes reflecting the fires burning across the city. Cole whistled. "Ugly little bastard, ain't he?" The alien's mandibles clicked together in rage. "Insolent mammals," it spat, the words somehow forming perfectly despite its alien mouthparts. "You think one victory matters?" Elias approached slowly, his revolver trained between the creature's eyes. "Actually," he said, his voice dangerously calm, "I think you're going to tell us why you're really here." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "You are predictable." It lifted one trembling arm, pointing at the sky. "Look up, human." Naomi's blood turned to ice. The clouds were moving. No, not the clouds. Shapes. Dozens of them. Black diamond ships descend through the smoke in perfect formation. Cole's shotgun came up instinctively. "Well, shit. Party's just getting started." The alien's laughter turned manic. First lesson was free. Its body suddenly convulsed, blue fluid foaming at its mouth slits. Second lesson costs everything. Elias barely had time to shout down before the first plasma blast turned the remains of Navy Pier into molten slag. The alien ships weren't hovering this time. They were attacking. And as the team scrambled for cover, Naomi realized with dawning horror that their clever trap had only bought them minutes. The real battle was just beginning. Chapter 3. Plasma fire turned the ruins of Navy Pier into a molten Hell's Cape as Elias dragged Naomi behind the crumbling remains of a concrete barrier. The air smelled like ozone and burning metal, each alien blast sending showers of superheated debris raining down around them. Command screaming for evac. Naomi shouted over the din, her comms earpiece crackling with frantic transmissions. Her dark hair was plastered to her face with sweat and soot. "They're riding us off." Elias risked a glance over the barrier. The alien ships had formed a perfect grid over the city, their weapons charging with an ominous hum. "Cole, where's that damn package?" The sergeant came sliding behind cover, his cybernetic arm sparking from a near miss. He clutched a heavy metallic briefcase to his chest like a football. "Right here, Cap. Though I gotta say, now seems like a real bad time for paperwork." Naomi's eyes darted between the case and the descending armada. "What the hell is so important you dragged that through a war zone?" Elias popped the latches with practiced ease. Inside, nestled in black foam, lay a single bullet nearly 6 inches long, its polished tungsten surface etched with strange markings. He loaded it into his revolver with ceremonial slowness. "That," he said, snapping the cylinder shut, "is our Hail Mary." The alien holograms flickered to life again, their distorted voices overlapping in a chorus of mechanical laughter. "No more tricks, humans. Your primitive weapons cannot." Elias didn't let them finish. He raised the revolver, took careful aim, not at the ships, but at the low-hanging clouds above them, and fired. The report echoed across the lakefront like a thunderclap. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the clouds parted. Naomi's breath caught in her throat as a massive orbital platform revealed itself, its angular silhouette blotting out the sun. A single barrel-like aperture pulsed with building energy. Cole hooped, slapping his knee. There she is. Old Reliable. The aliens' laughter died abruptly. Their ships hesitated, weapons cycling down as if confused. Then the orbital platform fired. Not a laser. Not an explosive. A tungsten rod moving at Mach 10. The lead alien ship vaporized in an instant, the shockwave rippling outward and sending 2 more craft spinning out of control. Then the platform fired again. And again. Naomi watched in stunned silence as the alien formation disintegrated, ship after ship exploding in brilliant flashes of blue-white light. That's a kinetic bombardment satellite, she whispered. Those are banned by every interstellar treaty. Elias holstered his smoking revolver. Good thing we never signed them. He turned to Cole. Tell me you got the coordinates for the mothership. Cole tapped his cybernetic temple. Locked and loaded, boss. But we got maybe 90 seconds before. A new sound cut through the chaos. Not the mechanical screech of the aliens, but a clear, calm voice emanating from the last remaining ship. Cease fire. The vessel descended slowly, its weapons retracting. The hologram that appeared wasn't the multi-eyed monstrosity from before, but a single slender figure with an almost humanoid silhouette. Well played, the voice said, its tone almost impressed. You have proven more resourceful than anticipated. Elias kept his hand on his revolver. You gonna surrender? The hologram's head tilted. This was never an invasion, Captain. It was an assessment. Naomi's grip tightened on her rifle. An assessment? You killed thousands. And you adapted in hours, the voice replied. That is what matters. Has just passed its first test. Chapter 4. The alien ship's hatch opened with a hiss of pressurized gas, revealing not an army of insectoid warriors, but a single figure standing silhouetted against the interior glow. Elias kept his revolver trained center mass as the being stepped forward into the smoky Chicago air. Naomi's finger hovered near her rifle's trigger. That's not what I expected. The alien stood barely 5 feet tall, its slender frame covered in smooth silver plating rather than organic chitin. A single visor-like eye glowed blue where a face should be, reflecting the fires still burning across the cityscape. When it spoke, its voice was calm and measured, completely unlike the screeching holograms. Captain Elias Vance, your reputation precedes you. Elias didn't lower his weapon. Can't say the same. Who the hell are you? The alien tilted its head in what might have been curiosity. You may call me Observer. And this, it gestured to the wreckage around them, was never an invasion, merely an examination. Cole spat on the ground, his cybernetic arm whirring as he clenched his fist. You call slaughtering civilians an examination? The Observer's single eye pulsed softly. A stress test. Your species reacts most authentically under threat of extinction. It turned its gaze back to Elias. Your solution with the EMP network was inspired. Most species simply shoot harder when faced with superior technology. Naomi's grip tightened on her rifle. So what now? You give us a gold star and leave. Now, the Observer said, we discuss your role in the coming conflict. It raised a 3-fingered hand and a holographic star map projected from its palm. The real war approaches. One that has consumed 1,000 civilizations before yours. Elias finally lowered his revolver fraction. What war? The star map zoomed in on a swirling cosmic phenomenon at the galaxy's edge. The Devourer comes. A machine intelligence that strips worlds bare of all organic matter. The Observer's voice took on an uncharacteristic edge. We have been searching for a species capable of stopping it. Cole barked out a laugh. And you picked us? After we just kicked your ass? The Observer's eye gleamed. Precisely because you did. The Devourer cannot be defeated by brute force. It requires creativity, deception, the very traits you demonstrated today. Naomi shook her head in disbelief. You're saying this was all some kind of test? A final examination, the Observer confirmed. previous candidates failed when faced with our simulated invasion. Your people adapted within hours. It turned to Elias. Your orbital kinetic weapon was particularly unexpected and effective. Elias holstered his revolver at last, rubbing his stubbled chin. Let me get this straight. You fake an alien invasion to see if we're tough enough to fight some world-eating boogeyman. The observer made a sound like a sigh. Simplified, but essentially correct. A sudden alert beeped from Naomi's wrist display. She frowned at the readout. We've got movement. Command sending a cleanup crew. ETA 2 minutes. The observer's plating rippled in what might have been agitation. This conversation cannot be overheard. The decision must be yours alone, Captain. Elias exchanged glances with his team. Naomi gave an almost imperceptible nod. Cole just grinned and cracked his knuckles. All right, observer, Elias said, stepping closer. Let's say we're interested. What exactly are you offering? The alien's eye gleamed brighter as it extended a hand. The truth, and the means to survive what comes next. Behind them, the first military helicopters appeared on the horizon. The observer's ship hummed to life, its hatch reopening. Choose quickly, Captain. The Devourer does not wait for second chances. Chapter 5. The observer's ship hummed with an eerie, organic vibration as Elias stepped through the hatch, his boots sinking slightly into the fleshy floor. The interior looked nothing like a human spacecraft. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent veins, and the air carried a metallic tang that made his teeth ache. Naomi hesitated at the threshold, her nose wrinkling. Smells like a slaughterhouse in here. Cole clapped her on the back as he pushed past. Relax, Cross. If they wanted us dead, they wouldn't need to lure us inside first. His cybernetic fingers trailed along a glowing wall conduit. Though I'll be damned if I know what this tech even is. The observer moved gracefully through the curved corridor, its silver plating reflecting the pulsing blue light. This vessel is grown, not built. A hybrid of organic and synthetic systems resistant to the Devourer's corruption. Elias ran a hand along the strange walls, feeling a faint warmth beneath his fingertips. You said this thing eats worlds. How? The observer paused before a membrane-like door that irised open at its approach. Not it. They. The door revealed a vast observation chamber with a holographic display of a planet being consumed by swirling black tendrils. The Devourer is a swarm intelligence, trillions of self-replicating nanites that disassemble all complex matter at the molecular level. Naomi's breath caught as the simulation showed cities crumbling into gray dust. How do you fight something like that? With this, the observer gestured to a cylindrical pod at the chamber center. Inside floated a shimmering silver liquid that seemed to move against gravity's pull. A prototype countermeasure, nanites designed to disrupt the Devourer's cohesion. Cole whistled. So we're the exterminators now? Just spray this stuff and call it day. The observer's eye dimmed. If only it were so simple. The Devourer has evolved defenses against conventional attacks. That is why we needed a species capable of... It hesitated, searching for the word. Creative deception. Elias circled the pod, studying the swirling liquid. You want us to trick a machine god? Essentially, yes. The observer activated another display showing battle schematics. Our simulations suggest a three-phase engagement. First, conventional forces to establish a pattern. Then, when the Devourer adapts, you introduce the nanites disguised as something else entirely. Naomi crossed her arms. And what happens if this doesn't work? The chamber lights flickered as the observer turned its gaze upward. Then the Devourer consumes Earth in approximately 14 of your days. Outside, the thrum of approaching helicopters grew louder. The observer moved suddenly, its calm demeanor slipping. Your military forces approach. The decision must be made now. Elias looked at his team. Naomi met his gaze steadily, her jaw set. Cole just grinned and rolled his shoulders. Hell, Cap. We already blew up Chicago today. Might as well save the world while we're at it. The observer extended a 3-fingered hand toward a control panel. Then I will transfer the countermeasure schematics to your neural implants. The process will be uncomfortable. Elias didn't flinch as the chamber filled with piercing blue light. Just one more question, observer. Why us? Really? The alien's voice took on an unexpected weight. Because when faced with impossible odds, your species does not submit. You cheat. The light intensified, and against the devourer, cheating may be the only way to survive. Chapter 6. The blue light burned like liquid fire through Elias's skull. He gasped as alien schematics seared themselves into his mind, swirling fractal patterns of nanotechnology that made his vision swim. Beside him, Naomi clutched her temples, her teeth bared in a silent scream, while Cole's cybernetic arms sparked violently, its circuits overloading. Then, as suddenly as it began, the pain stopped. Elias blinked away after images to find the observer slumped against the pod, its silver plating dulled. The transfer is complete. It rasped, its voice fraying at the edges. You now carry the weapon and the target coordinates. Naomi staggered upright, her fingers probing her temples. That felt like getting a grenade shoved through my eye socket. Cole flexed his malfunctioning cybernetic hand. Speak for yourself. I think they deep-fried my good arm. Outside, the thunder of helicopter blades reached a crescendo. The observer's ship shuddered as spotlights pierced the smoke-filled sky. Your forces have arrived, it said, pushing off from the pod with obvious effort. You must go now. Elias grabbed the observer's arm. Its plating was cold. You're not coming with us? The alien single eye flickered. My role ends here. The Devourer's vanguard will detect any transmission from this vessel. It gestured to the hologram, which now showed a massive distortion approaching the solar system's edge. They're already coming. A metallic taste flooded Elias's mouth as new knowledge surfaced. Coordinates, schematics, strategies imprinted directly into his neurons. Jesus. They'll reach Mars in 48 hours. The observer pressed a 3-fingered hand against the pod surface. With a hiss, the nanite cylinder detached. Take this to your leaders. Tell them nothing of its true purpose until the final moment. Its voice grew urgent. The Devourer learns. If they suspect the trap. Deafening explosion rocked the ship. The hologram dissolved into static as emergency lights strobed crimson. They're breaching. Naomi yelled, grabbing the nanite cylinder. Cole wrenched open the shuttering hatch. Move your asses unless you want to explain this to command with guns in your faces. Elias hesitated, locking eyes with the failing observer. This was all a test, but the Devourer isn't. The alien's response was nearly lost in the chaos. No, Captain, that war is terrifyingly real. Another explosion, closer this time, sent Elias stumbling back. He barely had time to leap clear before the hatch sealed shut behind him. The observer's ship shimmered, its organic hull rippling as it prepared to depart. Naomi dragged him behind cover as a squad of black-clad soldiers rappelled down from the circling helicopters. We got maybe 30 seconds before they ID us, she hissed. What's the play? Elias's mind raced, the alien schematics unfolding behind his eyes like a deadly puzzle. He looked down at the nanite cylinder, then at the descending troops. First we lie, he said, tucking the cylinder inside his jacket. Then, when the time comes, above them, the observer's ship vanished with a thunderclap of displaced air, leaving only swirling smoke and unanswered questions. Cole cocked his shotgun with a grin. Then we cheat. Chapter 7. The interrogation room lights buzzed like angry hornets, their sterile glow reflecting off the sweat on Elias's face. Across the steel table, General Carver's scarred knuckles rapped impatiently against the nanite cylinder. Let me get this straight, Vance. You want me to authorize deploying an alien bioweapon based on a story about space locusts? Naomi shifted in her seat, the handcuffs chafing her wrists. Not locusts, sir. A self-replicating nanoswarm. And it's not a bioweapon. It's a countermeasure. Carver's laugh was dry as desert bones. That's what the observer told you? And you just believed it. He leaned forward, his breath smelling of stale coffee. That ship could have implanted anything in your heads. For all we know, you're carrying the damn invasion. Cole's cybernetic fingers twitched against his restraints. With all due respect, General, if they wanted us dead, they wouldn't need to save the hero's speech, Sergeant. Carver stood, his shadow stretching across the wall like a hangman's noose. The President's ordered a full orbital blockade. Whatever's coming, we'll blast it to hell with conventional. The alarms cut him off. A voice blared from the ceiling speakers. Priority alert. Unidentified object breaching lunar orbit. Estimated Earth impact in 23 minutes. Elias was on his feet before the guards could react. That's not the Devourer, it's their scout. They're probing our defenses. He locked eyes with Carver. Sir, you have to let us deploy the countermeasure now. The general hesitated just long enough for another alert to sound. Multiple confirmed impacts across Asia and Europe. No explosions, just some kind of gray dust spreading from the impact sites. Naomi paled. Disassembly protocol. They're testing our biosphere's molecular structure. Carver's hand hovered over his sidearm. Then, with a snarl, he slammed his access card on the table. Fine, but this is on your heads. He turned to the guards. Get them to the roof. Activate Project Thor's payload bay. The elevator ride to the surface felt like an eternity. As the doors opened to chaos, screaming technicians, flashing warning lights, Cole grabbed Elias's arm. You sure about this, Cap? Once we load those nanites into the kinetic rods. Elias checked the cylinder's readout. The liquid inside swirled eagerly, as if sensing its purpose. Observer, said the Devourer learns. So we give them a lesson they can't forget. On the launch platform, the massive orbital cannon hummed with pent-up energy. Naomi worked frantically at the payload console, her fingers flying across the interface. Injecting nanites into tungsten rods, programming dispersal pattern. She hesitated. Elias, this'll take out half our satellites too. He didn't blink. Do it. The countdown began. 10 minutes. Then 5. Then impact, a technician screamed. The sky tore open. Not ships. Not missiles. A swirling black cloud that blotted out the sun, its edges dissolving the very air as it descended. Carver's voice was barely audible over the claxons. God help us. Elias slammed the firing switch. No, General. God help them. The cannon roared. A streak of silver shot skyward. Not one rod, but hundreds, their tungsten cores packed with humanity's last hope. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then the black cloud convulsed. The gray death spreading across Asia halted. And as the silver nanites met the Devourer's swarm, space itself seemed to scream. Naomi's monitor flashed with impossible data. It's working. Their cohesion is failing. But Elias wasn't celebrating. He was staring at the observation screen, where new shapes emerged from the dissipating cloud. Jagged, angular, unmistakably artificial. Cole's grip on his shoulder tightened. That ain't no swarm, Cap. The truth hit Elias like a bullet. It never was. He turned to Carver, his voice hollow. Call off the strikes. That's not the Devourer. The general frowned. Then what the hell is it? On the screen, the last of the black cloud peeled away, revealing massive orbital constructs covered in scars of ancient battles. And etched into their sides, barely visible beneath cosmic weathering, was a single symbol, the Observer's mark. Elias's knees nearly buckled. It's their fleet, and we just declared war on the only thing holding the real Devourer back. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.